Yeah, but she gets so much more into it because she want to be an actor, director, writer, producer, something. She don't know. I don't know until she know. I won't know, you know. But yeah, she would get so much more into it. Yeah, because I took the courses, and I had this media crit teacher, media criticism. This woman was crazy. She was always on her racial soapbox about something, and I swear for God, all her students thought she was on crack. Oh yeah, yeah. And had the nerve to be invited to a white university for a race and television seminar. And spoke. They didn't know. They had no idea, you know. And we were all from a black college, which meant if we were embarrassed, you know, everybody was uncomfortable, you know. Yeah, because she would get so much more into it. But was there ever a good show out there to begin with? For those of you who say race doesn't matter, a good show suffers from a devastating dissolution. Truly, how can the friends of friends and the friends of living single possibly live and work in New York City and never cross paths with members of varying races? Was Jerry Seinfeld that surprised that few blacks watched his show? And the few Latinos that watched the show were offended by that flag-burning business, and rightfully so. Burn the American flag, treason, punishable by death. Burn the Puerto Rican flag, jokes, just jokes, you don't have a sense of humor. So, reality. An entity television refuses to acknowledge truthfully. All my life, I wanted to be an actor. And as you well know, in order to learn a particular craft, one needs a textbook and working examples, right? For me, growing up, the textbook was the television. It was the most appropriate tool. It was the most immediate tool. For many, it was the most available and acceptable tool for our lessons. But what were our real lessons? Lesson number one, black people are typically poor and are always looking for a get-rich-quick scheme. Textbook, Good Times. Now, I love Good Times. I still do. If I can manage to stay up late enough, I'll catch an episode. Good Times was my favorite for one primary reason. For my generation, it was the first show with an all-black cast. Well, it was the first show with an all-black cast for any generation. But television is still new, or young, should we say. So there's room for some forgiveness. Some, not total. So, we have a black family on national television, displaying, representing the lives and reality of the American black family. We were poor, we lived in small apartments in the ghetto, and we all jumped and danced and shouted dynamite with every well-earned paycheck. Yeah, my family got excited about a paycheck, but didn't white folks as well? I can't think of a white family in television history that did a cartwheel over a regular paycheck. Oh, sure, the Clampetts will cut one huge check, unloaded their shotguns in the air, but who the fuck wouldn't? You know, I hit oil or gold or hit the lottery. I act like a damn fool on television too. But as a one-off situation, not as a permanent characteristic. People do not watch television with the notion that what they see a particular character do is idiosyncratic. This is what I see a black character do, so this must be the way of the entire race. People, these are characters. Characters with the word act, dead in the middle of the word, not actual people. This country lost its mind when Dan Quayle condemned Murphy Brown as being a less than desired image of the American single mother. But who cried out when young black men were being compared to the Sambo J.J. Evans of the 1970s? Obviously, I did not watch Good Times nor the Evans Family with the critical eye I use today. Back then, Good Times was the only thing CBS could offer me and my kind in the way of cultural entertainment. And it was just that, entertainment. Something with which to be amused. And we were amused, to a degree, to a large degree. But was the ghetto the only point of departure for a black family? It was either the ghetto or the plantation. Pick one. We were the products of our environment, and our environments were connotated with poverty and the lack of formal education. Having any level of wealth or college degree, one stood the chance of being called an uppity nigger. Poor or persecuted. These things together bring me to my second point, or my second lesson. Guilt. Lesson number 2. Black people must be apologetic for our financial success because we're not conditioned for it, politically, socially, nor historically. Those of us who are fortunate enough to move on up must disguise our insecurities with retaliation bigotry. Textbook, Jefferson's. Why was George so anti-white? Why so animated and so unrealistic? I mean, was he truly the antithesis of the rich white man, or even the average white man? Would the white masses be threatened by an intelligent black man of wealth? Friends, George was a buffoon, period. And not to knock the profession, but George was a dry cleaner. And I fail to believe that there were any dry cleaners of color, any color, living on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Whose clothes was he washing? Now, what was he charging these people? How was George seen in the black community from which he came? Living in the days of O.J., I can't help but believe that George Jefferson was seen as nothing but a sellout in the black community. George dry cleaned clothes in stores throughout New York City. He started his business in his old neighborhood, a black neighborhood, was supported by blacks, was survived by blacks. Why would a proud brother with all that he had have to leave and move all the way up to the Upper East Side of Manhattan? Would white folks go to a black dry cleaner in New York City? They wouldn't. They don't. So, George makes buku money and moves all the way up to the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Who were his friends? I mean, his real friends. His mama. Yeah, George was a mama's boy. George Jefferson, a man named after two of this country's most revered presidents, dead presidents, had very little in this world outside of his money and his mama. He masked his shortcomings by his pompous presence and his ridiculous strut. Why would a man with all that he had have to continuously hold his penis in hand and stroke? Someone had to do it. Weezy sure wasn't. And one could only wonder the true relationship she had with Florence and Helen. The truth, that's a whole nother seminar. The truth of the matter is, black people have this uncanny need to expose and parade any level of money we have, if we have any. I mean, what are you proving when you buy 8 cars and a 10-bedroom mansion, Hammer? Donald Trump doesn't have to explain where he gets his money. You ever hear the Ted Turner story to Rich Mandem? Black folks make some money, we get a life story. Rags to riches, assuming we all come from rags. How many black men are there in this country with even the remote amount of money close to a Donald Trump or Ted Turner or Bill Gates? Now, of that number, how many are professional athletes or entertainers? I feel safe to say we all know the Michael Jordan story by now. Mike Tyson, Bo Jackson, O.J. Simpson, even before the murders. And look what Mr. Entertainment, the king of pop, had to do to be loved and admired. Lighten up, Mike. We like the old knows better. So, we have a black family who moves from the ghetto all the way up to the Upper East Side of Manhattan, to a place that enables them to pay one of their own kind to clean up after them. A place so high and so exclusive that no one of color comes to pay a friendly visit, except for a black woman married to a white man. A place where through bribes and tips, we see the black man pay the doorman more than his own hired help. Is this moving on up? And if so, up where? Lesson number 3. When all seems comfortable and stable in the American society, black people must not relax, enjoy, nor accept what seems justified and equal. There's always something to prove. Textbook, The Cosby Show. During his presidential stint, all 12 years of it, Ronald Reagan offered this world rose-colored glasses during a booming economic and technological era. But what we all failed to realize was that these rose-colored glasses did not make black folks blend in. It made us stand out. It made us dark. The 1980s was a time to be made an example of. Black Americans are just as important to the American economy and technological advances as any other American. Fine, great. They're equals and should be treated the same as white Americans. Well, it's about time. But isn't this what we heard in the 1960s? How about the 1860s? Now it's the 1980s, and black folks are worthy of being portrayed as upper-class white-collar citizens. Now, is this the black American image? Doctors, lawyers, expensive sweaters? Where were all the blue-collar workers? No, there were no black factory workers, no black construction workers, no black hairdressers or barbers. We didn't get Rock the Garbage Man until the late 1980s. So apparently, the 1980s was a good time for everyone. A time when no one struggled, as opposed to the Huxtable antithesis, the Evans, where everyone struggled. And introduced me to a brother or sister named Huxtable anyway.